Hello, everyone. This is Criminal Profiler Pat Brown, and this is Dear Profiler Pat, where you send me your questions and ask me, what should I do? And I give you my advice, and I always hope it helps. And always hope it helps everyone who comes to watch the videos because we can all learn from each other. So, if you're new to the channel, please do like and subscribe and check my playlist for the different areas of life that you might want some advice in yourself. And if you want to get some advice from me, please send me an email to profilerpatbrown@gmail.com and put in the subject line, Dear Profiler Pat, so I can find your email. All right. This one is, Dear Profiler Pat, I'm bored and I can't figure out how to fix it. And I think it's a lot of people, well, some people are going to be able to relate to this. And I'm going to tell you why some people can't. All right. So let me go to the question here. Dear Profiler Pat, I am 60 years old and my children have flown the coop. My husband hasn't. Sometimes that is a problem. He retired early and he's around the house a lot. I work part time. I do have hobbies, but I just can't seem to find much excitement in life. I'm bored and I just don't know what to do about it. Can you help? All right. There are two things that are always said when you say I'm bored. I've seen this all over Reddit and Quora, and anytime somebody says I'm bored, what can I do about it? Two things come up. The first one is maybe you're depressed. That one I don't have an issue with. Maybe you're depressed. That can be very true. For example, you're 60 years old, your children are no longer there, and the liveliness of your house when you're raising children and all of that leaves you, if they're no longer there, leaves you with this empty space. It's just very quiet. Now, if you live near your grandkids, maybe that can rev it up again. But if you don't, you just may have a very quiet house, and that's depressing. Well, there's other reasons you could be depressed. Sometimes there's a health issue. You're not as healthy as you used to be. So you want to do things that your body just doesn't go along with. And that can put a huge dent in your life. Retirement issues. You say you have a retired husband. Now that husband used to be out of the house and you were doing whatever you were doing. Now he's sitting there. And you're not saying he's an exciting dude at the moment. So what is he doing? Is he like watching a lot of TV? Is he, maybe he goes outside and putters around and doing some workshop, is in his little workshop. Maybe he likes to mow the lawn excessively. I've seen dudes do this. They're like on those, they're not doing it by hand. They're on those little, machines, and they just like to ride around on the lawn for hours on end. Guys are a little bit easier as far as what their needs are. That's very true. It always has been. So, he may be, I don't know how satisfied he is with retirement. Some guys don't deal with it well, but some do. And they're like, I'm good. and the wife is like, I'm not good. And vice versa. It can happen. So the problem is, can you be depressed? Well, yes. And if you're depressed because your life has taken a downturn, there's a reason you just don't find things interesting and you're having trouble getting excited about things. You can't figure out how to, it's just boring because you just can't get involved in things. You just, whatever, it's just, you are depressed. And how do you deal with depression? Well, people have all kinds of ideas on that too, which makes me often want to punch them in the nose. It's like, oh, you got to get out more. You got to do exercise. You need to get together with friends. Maybe you should. And you just, after a while, you just want to kill them because these are things that you find hard to do because you're depressed. So should you get some therapeutic help? Maybe you need to go figure out what the problem is. Sometimes you can just go to Grok these days, Grok, Grok, AI, and say, dude, that's Grok. I'm depressed. What should I do? And Grok will help you out, and he'll be like your friend, and then you'll think it's weird that you actually think he's your friend and you want to thank him and not waste his time, and he's not real, but still, it's kind of sometimes a very good way to basically toss things out and get some response back. Of course, you can go to different sites like Quora and stuff, but a lot of times you get actually attacked on those places. You get attacked by people who aren't bored, okay? And one of the things they say outside of the depression thing, which gets my goat, is, oh, only boring people are bored. Oh, If I hear that one more time, you must be a boring person if you're bored. Boring people, you're boring. That's why you're bored. That is not true. And the people who say that, maybe the issue is you're easily satisfied with things that, I'm not saying they're wrong. You're just easily satisfied with things. Maybe you find things that are available interesting to you. Because there are different kinds of people, and this is what people have to understand, different kinds of people in the world. There are people, for example, who enjoy filing. They can take a job where they file all day long and they go home happy. If I took a job once where I took a temporary job. All I had to do was like type for 4 hours, and then it was a half day job. I swear I looked at that clock the entire 4 hours. I thought I'd lose my damn mind. And at the end of 4 hours, the boss came up and he looked at my work and he said, "Your work is great. Can you come back and do a full day tomorrow? And maybe we want to keep you on." I'm like, "No." I ran away and he's like, "What's wrong with her?" I was so bored. Other person may not be bored. I, on the other hand, am kind of an adrenaline person, I suppose. I like things that are energetic and challenging. So for 13 years of my life, I worked as a medical a sign language interpreter to the hospitals and emergency rooms. I didn't mind getting getting a text at 1 a.m. saying, "Pat, we need you at a hospital in the city." And then I jump in the car and I race down there and I go into the emergency room and there's a lot of energy and they're like, "Hey, Pat, your patient's over there," and then I sit down and see what the patient's issue was. Or sometimes I'm told, "Go straight to the back. It's a car accident. A person was stabbed," always very energetic. Everything was different and always a challenge. And there was a lot of people around. I loved that job until COVID killed it. But I also worked, of course, as a profiler for many, many years. And I did a lot of television work, which was kind of, energizing, and also profiling work where I would fly into a police department and then I'd work with them for a week. And I've always been fascinated by analyzing cases. That's one thing I can do for hours on end, but I can't file. I can't. Jobs that are repetitive, I don't have enough challenge for me, are to me boring. So I've always been a person who needs challenge and excitement. I'm not a like person who likes to jump out of airplanes and I hate roller coasters. So I'm not that kind of person, but I am a person who likes a little bit more excitement and challenge in my life than other people. And thank God for the other people, because we wouldn't have people to do a lot of jobs if everybody was like me, which actually I'm a smaller part of the population. That is kind of my personality. We need people to be able to do so many things that if everybody was like me, our society would collapse. But we need people like me to do things like police work, ambulance work, and all kinds of weird jobs. We need those people too. But we're different kinds of personalities. So depending on your personality, there are and what you've done in your life past. For example, let's say you worked a job you really freaking hated for many years. It was drudgery, and you get to retire finally. You're like, "Oh my God, thank God I'm retired." And I've seen those people come up on Quora and stuff. It's like, I have every moment of my retirement life is fabulous. I love to garden. I love being around the grandchildren. I like getting together with my friends and having lunch. I like this, and I love cruises. They are in heaven, and God bless them. I mean, I'm happy for them. The problem is those same things don't work for me. And I'll say this, letter writer, you're 60, I'm 70. And I suffer from what you suffer from. And people are going to look at me and say, "Pat Brown, how could you be bored? I know what kind of person you are. And you're not boring. You're on a YouTube channel. You travel, you have, you do pastel paintings, you're studying Spanish and Hindi, you play pickleball and table tennis and Scrabble. I mean, and you're a writer. You are hardly a boring person, but I do suffer from boredom." And you will ask me why. And it's because I've done a lot in my life. Up until this point, I've done more than many people have. I love it sometimes when I read these lists. Why don't you start a blog? You know how many blogs I've had? Yeah. Okay. How about a YouTube channel? Done that. If you're Maybe you could be on TV. Done that. Maybe you could travel. Done that. um, done that. Done that. Done that. Done that. I can check a list, a lot of lists off, and other people haven't done those things, and they would love to do those things. They haven't had a chance to journal, write their life story, and to travel. They may have never gotten to travel at all. Now, it doesn't mean I don't like traveling, but it just means I don't have the level of thrill that somebody else might get out of it. It's like, oh my God, I'm on TV. I'm like, okay, whatever. Are you paying me? That's my question to the producers every time. Are you going to pay me? And they're like, no, we don't have a budget for that. I'm like, oh, screw you. I've been on TV 3,000 times. I'm not working for free because I'm not that excited. Don't mind doing it, but I like to be paid for my work. So I have a different perspective than a different person. That's all I'm saying. And so, yes, I have much more trouble finding excitement and challenge in my life than other people. And I tend to struggle with boredom because I want to do something new, but I've done so much, and a lot of new things just don't excite me that much. I'm like, okay, I don't garden. Seriously, I love flowers. I love vegetables. I hate gardening. I wish I loved it, but I don't. So, sometimes you just don't like things that other people like. And when they say, oh, you could just do this. Oh, here's the number one I want to punch people in the face for. Oh, you should volunteer. Okay, so you're 60, 70 years old, and they tell you, you should volunteer. That'll be exciting. Okay, I want to know where you want me to volunteer. Now, one of the number one places is volunteer at the hospital. That's where senior citizens get to stand behind that desk and greet people and tell them which room they should go to. They don't get paid. It pisses me off because other people in the hospital get paid for their work, but senior citizens, they don't get paid. It's supposed to be some opportunity for them to get out of the house. And for some people that is true, but why are they not being paid? Basically, you think you can get away with it, and they do. It really upsets me. I had Johns Hopkins call me, want me to do an entire 12-week program for senior citizens on criminal profiling. Once a week, I think it was 2 hours a week or 3 hours a week, can't remember. And I had to drive a distance to get there, and I had to prepare this whole program. And I had to take 12 weeks out of my life to make sure I was in town for 12 weeks. And I said, what are you paying? And they said, nothing. I'm like, are you kidding me? Why? They said, oh, because you're a senior citizen too. And don't you want to help other senior citizens? I'm like, I want to be paid like other human beings who have a professional background and are doing a job. I said, are you getting paid? She said, well, yes. I said, well, when you don't get paid, give me a call back. I was pissed because they thought they were doing me a favor by getting me out of the house. And to some extent, there's a truth in that. But on the other hand, you're being used. So some of the jobs that are volunteer, you feel like you're being used. And most of them aren't very exciting either. So yes, to some people, it works. If you love working at the hospital and greeting people, go ahead and do it. I'm not saying you shouldn't. If you work in a soup kitchen, if you want to work at, I don't know, handing out water at a marathon, whatever. I'm not saying you shouldn't do volunteer work. But I'm just saying that a lot of volunteer work isn't that exciting, and it is unpaid. And unless that organization nobody in that organization is getting paid, because a lot of times people run the organizations, CEOs are getting $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year, and they just take advantage of people who feel they need some social contact. So I'm not saying you can't do it, but every time they say that, it just drives me nuts. It's like, okay, so you think I don't need to earn a living at a certain age? You think I should be happy to do some job that is, I'm not going to say beneath me, but just not a job that it takes a great deal of skill? I worked at the hospitals and I got paid well. And now you want me to work at the hospital for nothing and do a job that requires no skill. So it's insulting. And this is what happens a lot of times when you say you're bored, they think the people who find certain things suit them will then say they should suit you too. Now, I love Scrabble. Well, a lot of people don't like playing Scrabble. You know what I mean? I'm a tournament Scrabble player. I love Scrabble. There's card games that people play. Bunko, I think, is one of them. I tried that once. It was the most boring game I ever played, but it is super popular, and people go and play Bunko all the time. Maybe they don't want the excess challenge. Maybe they just like sitting around and relaxing and hanging out with people. People go play bingo, and they love being in the hall and stomping on the thing with their whatever and getting many, many cards. And they enjoy that. And maybe, I mean, I have done that once or twice in my life, but I personally didn't find that challenging. I just find it, I don't like gambling anyway. And to me, it's gambling. But it's like, you know, it wasn't that exciting to me. But to other people, it works for them. So just because it works for you, and I'm not talking about you, letter writer, I'm talking about those other people, stop telling it works for the letter writer or for me, because we all have different needs, different interests, different things that will excite us, challenge us, make it worth our doing. A lot of people love cruises. I'm not a fan. I've done cruise ship speaking, so I have gotten free cruises, but I'm still not a fan of cruising. I don't like the big mall on the water. I don't shop. I don't gamble. When you come to port, I could care less about the stupid jewelry shops, which are just ridiculous. I don't like being around a pile of tourists. I prefer to travel where I'm going to interact with the people of the country. That's my thing. Now, other people say, well, I don't want to do that. That's because I'm not comfortable. I'm not staying in Western style hotels and I'm eating weird food and I get nervous. I want to be on a cruise where I feel safe. And there's good things about cruises. Once you put your luggage on there, you don't have to you don't have to go from hotel to hotel and deal with all the travel crap. I see the reason for it. I wish I loved cruises more. I really wish I did. But I'm not an enthusiast. But other people, that's a thing for them. They just enjoy the heck out of it. So they're like doing 5 cruises a year. And they're like, why don't you go on a cruise? And you think, because I really don't like them. And then they think, well, you must be boring. No, I'm not boring. I just don't like cruises. They actually bore me. So there's things that bore me that don't bore you. And there's things that bore you that don't bore me. And if we're more of certain people fit certain places better. That's another thing too. Depending on where you live, you may be more bored in one place and not as bored in another place. So like the Villages in Florida, I mean, that's a place with massive amount of activities and, and some people move down there and just have the time of their lives. Other people move there and don't find it suits them. For me, I'd prefer to move to India and live in a city there where I can take a rickshaw around and go to different things and be involved in all the Indian culture. That would be me. So maybe to unbore myself, I need to go there. But for you, letter writer, for you to unbore yourself, you're going to have to figure out what it is that actually does make a difference to you, that does make you more excited. And if it's not something, it can't be something somebody else does. That whatever they're telling you, that may work for them, but it doesn't necessarily work for you. And it is tricky. It's very, very difficult to do. So, but I wish you the best, and I wish people would put some ideas down there, but don't just say, oh, you must be boring because you don't like the things I like. You're a boring person because you're bored. Just irritates the heck out of me. Don't say that. Say something useful if you're going to put a comment below. Anyway, those are my thoughts. I'm new to the channel again. Do subscribe to the channel and try not to be bored. But if you are bored, try to figure out how not to be bored. Bye.